Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel, to our live reaction to our yearly disappointment and flop at Old Trafford because we failed to win once again. It's now over 12 years since we won at that absolute... I can't even use the right words. I've rarely been so baffled and infuriated by watching my own football team. Like, genuinely, I could not believe what I was seeing. 4 minutes in, we were down to 10 men. 4 minutes in, I wanted to turn the TV off. And then it took another couple of minutes until the manager made subs. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I genuinely could not believe my eyes and words anymore. Like, what? My eyes and words, eyes and ears anymore at what I was seeing and what was happening in front of my eyes. Oh my God. Oh my God. Dimitar, I haven't even had time to stream after us losing in Munich on Wednesday. And now we come to go to Old Trafford. Now, I wasn't even expecting much. I never expect to win Old Trafford. We never do. We never win there. I was like, well, maybe we can get a draw. But no, after 4 minutes, we had Sanchez sent off. Sanchez. And then Jurgen, we had 2 goalkeeper howlers in the same game. How does that even happen? Oh my God. Oh my God. Please, Dimitar, speak to me. I don't even know where my head is. So I'm really intrigued to hear where other people's heads are because mine is on Mars.
I mean, my head is still on my shoulders because I was not that surprised because for me, the big reason why one of the reasons why we lost today and basically in Munich as well is because our squad depth is actually not that great. And today, I think that was one of the factors why we lost. And the other was that Maresca lost his head for some reason. Because he made the most illogical substitutions, or let's say one. He should have never taken Neto off in the 6th minute because you never know what's gonna happen. It's like you have basically 80 to 90 minutes left of play, and you took him off, and then the Palmer substitution basically forced his hand because he had no more tools with which to influence the game after that. In my opinion, I think that was very, very poor. Like also bringing in 5 defenders to defend against one of the worst attacks in Europe, Manchester United, really? Like this is not 1970s Brazil, not 2009 to 12 Barcelona. It's Manchester United. And you bring in 5 defenders. Why?
And it was also 4 minutes in.
Yeah, 4 minutes. Why? I mean...
Yeah, it's genuinely baffling. It's genuinely baffling. Bertram, first of all, thank you for joining us once again, especially on nights like this. I appreciate you guys. You are ever the optimist, usually. Surely even you can't find anything positive about this.
No, thank you for having me on as well. Good to speak to you both for our annual Old Trafford therapy session.
Seriously.
I think the thing about this game is really tough to, as much as it's frustrating, it's very tough to gauge our natural level at this because, as you said, after 4 minutes, everything went out the window. I think today... even in those 4 minutes, we looked terrible. They could have scored twice. So, we didn't start well, but we haven't done that whole season. So it's not because, we definitely wouldn't have won then. But I think the game, realistically, I think this one probably is on Sanchez. I think when you're in that situation, it's tough to, just let him, walk past you. You're going to try and win the ball. So, that's how that is. But I think that really killed the game. And I struggle to see what Maresca's idea was because when you take off attackers, in a sense to try and make us more defensive, you also make them more offensive because if we don't have any, players like Estevao or Neto to make those deep runs, United can commit more men forwards and, they're closer to the goal then. And we saw, a couple minutes after they had so many men in the box because we had no offensive threat. So I think today is just one of those games you have to forget about. Thank God it was only by 1 goal. But realistically, I think just the red card after 4 minutes really killed us.
I mean, it sure as hell did kill us. But we can't forget that they, in the end, also had a man sent off. But we put ourselves in a position where we couldn't even try to really come back anymore because we took all of our attackers off. And also, decided to gift them 2 goals. So, yeah, that wasn't particularly helpful. I mean, let's talk about that straight away before we talk about other things because it happened quite so early in the game. You can see it on screen, the moment where Robert Sanchez managed to get himself sent off. Šeško in an aerial duel against Chalobah. Chalobah just poor. Šeško flicks it on to Mbeumo, who's running through, runs past... Not sure who it was that he ran past. Looking at this picture, it looks like Caicedo, but I'm not sure if it was somebody else. Sanchez comes flying out, and instead of just taking the goal, being 1-0 down 5 minutes early, which is obviously bad, but I'd much rather be 1-0 down than one man down this early in the game. So, and this is where you have to just question what the fuck he's doing, because he missed the ball by so much. Like, you can't tell me that he tried to clear the ball and like, oh, I missed it, accident. You know, those things happen. But in this scenario, it was so clear that he wasn't getting the ball. He shouldn't score. Like, it would have been the way, way, way better option. Obviously, it's funny and easy to talk in hindsight, but surely in almost every situation ever, so early in the game, it's the much better decision to let them score rather than, as the goalkeeper, take a red card, right? Dimitar, like,
yeah.
I mean, Chalobah shouldn't lose his aerial duel, but still, what is Sanchez doing after that?
I mean, the thing is with Sanchez, we know this. He's a weird keeper. He can be your man of the match in one game. He can be stable for, let's say, 4 or 5 games, but he always has this in him. And it may be an almost own goal. It may be a shaky pass, which leads to us conceding a goal. It may be a red card now. And this is one of the things which we have been screaming for basically 2 years now, or maybe even more, that we need the good starting experienced goalkeeper. And this is where I will come again to a bit of the squad planning, because again, we have spent 2 billion and Sanchez is our starting goalkeeper. This is in no way, shape, or form something that a serious club should do. Like, unless you have 10 Messis on the pitch in front of him, it's no excuse to have Sanchez as your goalkeeper. And sadly, we're seeing the consequence of that. Very, very,
Bro,
very painful.
I feel like such a mug. I'm not sure if I said this to you, obviously, when I saw you on Wednesday, but I literally thought before the Bayern game, I was like, okay, I'm here now. It's a big game. If he goes through this without making a mistake, I might at least support Sanchez again. Well, even though we lost, he had an absolute worldie of a game, made a number of phenomenal saves, in particular the one against Elise.
Also, his
and then he does that
passing was
today.
amazing.
Well, first of all, I am sorry. If any of this is my fault, I am truly sorry to everybody. But also, fuck you, Robert Sanchez. Fuck you, man. Like, how dare you? How dare you mug me off like that? Do you know what I mean? Bertram, you are a goalkeeper, even though this doesn't have much to do with goalkeeping, what Robert Sanchez did. Thoughts on the situation, on the red cards, on what he did?
I understand, the discourse around him. I do. I think it's not just directly. I think you're being harsh on him. I think he's been one of the most, criticized keepers for good reason. I think for large parts of the season with Poch, for large parts of, at least the start of the season, last season with Maresca, he was, constantly making mistakes, not being good. And I think probably since he came back into the team around March, there's been very few, if any, errors. And I think he's been very good. Now, that being said, today was a massive error, completely cost us the game. No doubt about it. I just think he has proved, at least to me, for, a couple of months now, that he is to the level. I would not, have anything against signing someone else, but I think the thing, criticizing him for, always being like this is just tough, because he is a very good goalkeeper. I would rather have him than I would have, the keeper United had, for example. I just think these are maybe the moments in where he needs to have a cooler head, because he does have these, bozo moments in him. I just think he has, performed at such a high level for the past couple of months, for that to be overlooked. But if you just look at the game today, he cost us the game. And I think in the end, right, if we want to transition to being, up there with the Liverpools and the Arsenals, you need a goalkeeper to the level of, Alisson or even Raya, who just don't make these mistakes, right? But I wouldn't go as far as, criticizing or calling him a bad keeper now. Granted, bad error, but I think the last couple of months he has been good.
Yeah, but when he's been at the club for 3 years, or in his 3rd season, and of this 2 and a bit seasons, he's had 4 good months. The bad months dramatically outweigh the good months. So how I would counter this back to you, how can the last 4 months that were still at times riddled with mistakes make you think he's a good goalkeeper when he's had well over 18 bad months?
I think, labeling them as 18 bad months, I wouldn't agree on. I think he's had spells where he's been terrible. I think he has had spells where he's been good. Within those 18 months, I just think from seeing him,
can you other than Andre Onana, tell me a worse goalkeeper in this period?
In this period?
In whatever period you're referring to with Sanchez not being so bad. Whatever period you're talking about, really.
To be fair, I don't watch all the goalkeepers
because I know what you're saying, but like you've always got to consider he's a goalkeeper, right? and he still plays for one of the biggest teams with some of the most possession. Obviously, he isn't gonna like score 3 own goals every game. But how bad does it have to be until we just consider him as bad? I in a way, I get what you're saying in terms of you're being harsh, but I was trying to give him a chance. I was like, okay, you've been good for a while, and the second I'm like, okay, have it, Sanchez. I'll support you now. The game after, like, I'm not even saying you're necessarily wrong, but I think you're slightly too defensive of him as well, because I'm like, remember, like, I always will think back to this game against Crystal Palace on match day 1, by the way. Don't forget about this disallowed Eze goal. Do not forget about it. I don't know. Somehow people just forget about all the errors that Sanchez made since that City game. Like, it's not like he's been error-free since then. But I don't want to harp on about this one too much. I quickly want to.
If I could put a final point on, I think I'm not as I'm not romantic toward Robert Sanchez. I'm not dead set on him being the goalkeeper for us forever. I would ideally like to see us transition. If we want to transition to that top club, we need a top goalkeeper. I also just think we may be we may have one on loan. B, the goalkeeper market is not as good as I'd like it to be. So for that, I would agree. But I think I agree it's his mistake and stuff like that. But to criticize him and say he has been, I know that's not what you're saying. I just wanted to say I think he's been very good over these last couple of months, and I didn't agree with the discourse around him. That's basically what I was saying.
Fair enough. I mean, let's take it into the lineup. Now, I painted it up as a 4-2-3-1 rather than whatever we play in possession, because it only took 4 minutes until it changed. And in those 4 minutes, it felt like we didn't even have the ball. So I have no idea what the plan was. Was it supposed to be Chalobah at central centre-back and Cucurella left centre-back? Was Reece James supposed to be right centre-back and Cucurella in midfield? I have no idea. I have not a clue. So this is the team we started with. Before we talk about subs and what we did after the red card, just quickly, boys, and I'll stick with you for a second, Bertram. What did you make of the team when that was announced? Obviously, the big surprises in there being that, in particular, Tosin came out of the team for Fofana, who, well, first of all, was dreadful last week, and also was dreadful last year when we played at Old Trafford. So I have no idea how he came to the idea of playing him today. And otherwise, I guess that Garnacho didn't start was quite surprising. Honestly, in the end, he didn't even come off the bench, but I was so certain he would come on. In my podcast with CFCPys, link is down in the description, by the way, called Chelsea Unfiltered, link to Spotify and Apple Podcasts is down below. I literally said in the last episode, if Maresca doesn't start Garnacho, I'll be Maresca out. Like I said, I made it very clear it was a joke. But because I was so certain that Garnacho would start today, because it just felt like if there is any shape or form in which we break this Old Trafford curse, it's by bringing the curse, the personified curse that is Alejandro Garnacho with us. He's the only, he's like the kryptonite of Man United. It was our only hope and chance, in my opinion. And the fact that he didn't start, honestly, when I saw that he didn't start, I had no hope that we would win today. And this is not me thinking Garnacho is the best player in the world by any means or at all. Like, I don't rate him. I don't like him. I rate him more than I like him. But not starting him today, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, okay, you've lost the plot completely. And then he continued to lose the plot even more. But yeah, maybe that's just me. Bertram, what did you make of the lineup initially?
I think for the 4 minutes we saw, I wasn't overly impressed. I'll be honest with you. I think for the 4 minutes, it seemed like something was off, but you never know how it would have ended up. I think starting Estevao and Palmer was very good. I was excited to see that.
Nice that it
I think as well as you, I would have loved to see Garnacho. I think he would, 100% would have had a point to prove in this game. I think, it's a double-edged sword because as well as he knows, perhaps the weaknesses of the United defense, they'd know his weaknesses as well, and that go. I would have perhaps hoped maybe to have seen Andre Santos in midfield, perhaps instead of Enzo. Enzo is just maybe that much more important to Enzo Maresca than, we'd have thought. But I would perhaps, as you said, I would have loved to see Garnacho because I think if there was one game, for him this entire season where he'd really want to make his mark, it would have been this one. Other than that, Fofana as well, massive surprise. I didn't watch the Brentford game last week, so I could just tell by, the tweets and stuff that he maybe wasn't his best game. I thought he was all right today. But it was a massive boost in confidence for him, I suppose. But other than maybe starting Garnacho and maybe Andre Santos, I think the lineup's pretty much how you'd expected.
Fair enough. David, what was your perspective on those few changes? Like I say, Tosin Fofana, and I guess the fact that Garnacho didn't start. Was it any of it surprising to you? What did you make of it?
For me, I would have said before the game, you either start him or you literally sub him on in the 50th minute, regardless of the score. And after the 4th minute, after that red card, I would have told you the same thing. But then he did this absolutely insane sub when he took Neto off, and he completely killed our counter-attacking potential. And then I had the feeling, oh no, he's not even going to bring him on in the second half for some reason. And what actually lost the plot what actually showed me that he's really lost the plot is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but he spent between 3 and 4 minutes with his assistant explaining something to Garnacho on their notebooks. He started writing and they really talked to him for about 3 or 4 minutes before the double sub where he didn't come on.
Like I saw that as well, yeah.
Yeah, Garnacho got into his kit, like he put the kit on, he put the jacket on so he doesn't freeze to death, I guess, until he hears the explanations. Maresca and the assistant started explaining to him something very passionately, and then I think I went to get a glass of water, and I'm coming to my screen, and I see, wait a minute, George and Gusto are coming on. I was like, what? And even my commentator...
the double substitution, second half you're talking about. Okay.
Second half, yeah. And even the commentator on my game was very confused. For a second, I think he thought we maybe have also another sub for some reason, because he said, like, it's very unusual for a coach to explain something for 3 or 4 minutes to a player and then not bring him on. And I'm really baffled. Like, I think that maybe this is one of the very, very few games where I think the coach actually actively lost the game with his decisions. Yeah. Even though the game was in a very bad position, even though circumstances were bad, I think we could have actually won, even with 2-0 down. But
yeah, well, at least gotten something out of it. We could have at least gotten a draw out of this. And I mean, let's talk about those subs, right? Sanchez gets his red card. Let's put him up here in the corner, and then we switch to a 5-3-1. We made a double substitution after 5 minutes with a goalkeeper being sent off. Now, first of all, we take Estevao off for Jorgensen. Okay, this one I can understand. This one makes sense. You know, if you're going to have to take someone off, probably the 18-year-old, you know, that has the least experience and, you know, is less important than whatever clutch than the Neto and stuff like this. Or obviously than Joao Pedro. But then you also make another substitution. You decide to bring on Tosin, who we just spoke about how somewhat bafflingly he was left out of the starting 11 that nobody really had an explanation for. My only logic is, well, maybe he was very tired after playing a lot of games. But he comes on after 4 minutes, so he can't have been that tired, can he? And he comes on for Pedro Neto. So in the space of 5 minutes, after a goalkeeper got sent off, we took both of our wingers off. We took both of our fast players off. Now, Joao Pedro isn't super slow, but he is certainly Pedro Neto, and he's also slower than Estevao, who also isn't even the fastest in the world anyway. But Neto in particular. Who has ever in their God's life seen taking both fast players that you have off when you go down to 10 men and you are now inevitably going to only be able to counterattack? Who takes the wingers, the fast wingers off? The players that are most necessary and most important for counterattacking. I have never seen anything like it in my life. We'll get to the Palmer substitution in a second, guys. We'll touch on that one in a second. But just the first two. Dimitar, I'll stick with you. I know you spoke about the second half subs and Garnacho not coming on there.
What baffles me
is off. A double. Have you ever seen this? A double sub. No. Why did he make a second sub? Why?
The only reason I can think of is he thought that Palmer would be enough, because Palmer, although not the fastest, is still pretty fast with his long, lanky legs. He can counter. But then again, what I would have done if someone would have told me, okay, we will take off our 2 fast wingers, who will you sub on? I would have never subbed on a 5th defender. This was for me the big mistake, because if he had brought in Andre Santos instead of Neto, it would have made a little bit more sense, because you would say, okay, we will focus to at least be able to hold on the ball for a couple of minutes and organize some form of attack. But what he did is he said, no, I'm going to bring on 5 defenders and we're going to soak up as much pressure as possible with relieving United of as much pressure as possible, because we can't counter now. And the combination of both is what made us look absolutely terrible. Like around the 30th minute, I think in our chat also someone said, but the feeling was like, this is going to 4 or 5. They were just peppering us because we were defending with 5 people in a line, and sometimes Caicedo goes in between the lines, so we were literally defending with 6 people in a line against Manchester United, the worst attacking side in the league. I mean, and the most baffling thing from their side is they still didn't even create anything. It took them one very dodgy goal, which I think could have been ruled offside because previously they ruled out for sleeves. And also, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the animation which they showed, it was not what happened. Like, in reality, It was the front of Chalobah's foot which covered the offside, but the animation which they showed with the lines, it was the heel of his foot, which is also insane. If someone can has some sort of like online TV and can roll back the stuff and see the game, look at the animation they showed about 5 minutes after the goal was conceded. It was not what happened. Not to mention they did not show us the sleeve. They did not show us like anything correct, at least in my broadcast, which is also insane. But regardless of that, United didn't create almost anything. Like, and we still 5 defenders. Why? This is what shocked me. Like, this decision making is absolutely atrocious. Like, it's I'm
just trying to find if I can find the offside graphic because that is wild. If the graphic is the wrong way around.
If you give me 1 minute, I think I can actually find it for you.
If you find it, send me the link. Yeah. In the meantime, I'll let you speak about this, Bertram, for a second. We have the goalkeeper sent off, and we take both wingers off. Isn't that, like, do you agree that is just utterly insane? Like, you know, people in the chat are talking about it as well. Like, he wanted to keep some sort of shape, and Dimitar said it as well. You know, wanted to like make sure we don't concede because we're playing a long time with being a man down. But from every angle, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, you know, you're like, it's already an extra strain for all our players being down to 10 men. Usually, when you have someone sent off, it's at best like a half or something. In this case, it was essentially going to be a full game down to 10 men. And he already wasted 2 of the 5 subs in the first 5 minutes and taking all of our counter-attacking threat off as well. It just blows my mind. I can't believe it, genuinely.
No, I agree as well. I think, you know, I love Maresca. I think he's a great coach, and I think we've seen that. But I think this, to me, made no sense. I was really, really shocked when it happened. I don't really know who I would have taken off. The thing is, right, if we're away at maybe Liverpool, right? If we're away at Liverpool, if we're away at City, you can maybe see it, okay? Maybe then. The thing is, we're at the worst United side of, you know, maybe the last, you know, maybe forever, right? We're a better team than them. And I just think to absolutely, you know, kill our chances that early into the game, to me, makes no sense. He might have some, you know, it might be the same thing with, you know, Ranieri with the Tinkerman. He might have overthought something, right? But for me, realistically, I would maybe have wanted him to take, you know, midfielder off or something like that to at least give us some presence, right? Because, okay, let's say we lose maybe, 4-0, 3-0. I think that maybe in a way might be less demoralizing than, you know, that entire first half. I think that entire first half with us offering nothing, having nothing.
Bro, he doesn't even have to take a midfielder off. Take Estevao off, put Joao Pedro on the right, and have Palmer as a false 9. Like, you can still play somewhat of a cohesive attacking unit. But what we just had Joao Pedro up front on his own, and then nothing behind it. Obviously, let me just quickly come to this. We then obviously had to also take off Cole Palmer. Now, first, all of us lost our absolute shit because we were like, what on earth is going on? Andres Santos on for Cole Palmer. We then switched to the 5-3-1 that we had on screen a second ago. And a lot of people lost their minds, including, like, I had a message here from Dylan saying, for taking Palmer off early, do you think Maresca's job is at risk? Now, we'll talk about the Maresca job situation a little bit later, but Palmer wasn't just taken off for a tactical reason. Palmer had a groin injury. He was supposedly pointing at this groin as he was walking past the away fans down into the tunnel. So, yeah, certainly not just a tactical sub, but that makes you question it even more. So you let Palmer go into the game still being like, well, doubtful or still being like a concern with his fitness. But yet still you decided after 5 minutes to take off 2 attacking players. You know, that Palmer being a question mark about how long can he play makes the decision of the double sub before even more insane, in my opinion. Like, It genuinely blows my mind. Like, it genuinely just does blow my mind. But yeah, just to clear it up. Dylan.
By the way,
I completely agree with that as well.
You can see.
Go on.
Sorry,
What did you
I
say,
sent you the 2 screenshots. Maybe you can show them on stream in the Twitter DMs. You can show them maybe to see like the craziness of the graphic and the way his sleeve was actually offside.
There it is. Yes. Let's look at this. So, guys, quick switch of screens for the goal. We haven't even started talking about goals yet, but so this is how basically where Bruno Fernandes was potentially or potentially not offside for his 1-0 goal. Now, I did initially think he's probably on, but maybe the sleeve is offside. That was my initial thought. Now, let's quickly go out of this. And here we see this. This is not at all Trevor Chalobah's body position.
Can someone explain to me?
I'm not even sure we're just the left and the right foot. Like, look at this. I mean, it is obviously this is a bit of an angle, so I would say the foot is just kind of flat rather than that his toe is in the front. But it's certainly not the heel like they put it.
Yeah, and also look at the sleeve. Like seriously, like
Exactly.
I am not talking for them to count. This is an offside, but the sleeve at least look how high it is. Like, come on, this. I know it's a bit of a stretch to want them to rule that offside, but I think this graphic was poor, and I think this was.
I have another one for you to make it even worse. This was at a game earlier this season, also at Old Trafford. This was a Burnley goal ruled offside for supposedly this bit of the sleeve being offside.
Well, yeah, I mean,
This was 3 games ago, not 2 games ago.
This graphic is also insane, by the way. How can it be this bad? How can these graphics be so bad?
Semi-automated offside, yeah?
There was the thing about the penalty as well on top of all of this.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I thought the guy probably just about got the ball, like got a little touch on it. But, you know, like someone tweeted, if it was the other way around, they get a penalty for it. I'm almost certain of it. Almost certain.
I think he got the ball as well, but the offside is weird.
This is very, very strange because there's so much of his sleeve. I thought that is the whole point of how offside works.
Yeah,
but at the same time, are any of you guys surprised after the whole debacle of the Fulham goal? Yeah, exactly.
They basically took the line directly off his shoulder, and like you can score with this part of your body. You can, like it's not...
exactly. It's very, very strange.
Clearly,
like genuinely,
you can clearly see
strange.
that the entirety of the thing, the emblem is offside. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's utterly baffling. What can you even say about this? I mean, will they apologize in hindsight? I doubt it. Okay, we can bring up, as we just a second ago spoke about Palmer's injury. Let's quickly see what Maresca said post-match about it. You can still see my screen, can't you? There you go. Maresca tells the BBC that Palmer had a fitness test this morning to see if he could play for Chelsea. Cole this morning did a test to play this game. He was not 100%. It was a fantastic effort for the club, for his teammates, for the team. Unfortunately, he was not 100%. And yet, you made a double substitution after 4 minutes.
Yeah,
like it's just insane. Honestly, it just baffles me. It utterly baffles me. I go back to this lineup screen for the lineup that we had for the remainder of the first half. But then let's quickly talk about the second half because we can talk about the 2-0 a little bit later on. We'll get to that. I want to stick on the subs and then talk about Maresca in terms of what that meant. Now, if you don't know, guys, you have 3 substitution windows during a game. Yes, you have 5 subs, but you have 3 substitution windows. This does not include halftime. Yes. So at halftime, it's essentially a 4th substitution time, but it's not you stopping the game, so you're allowed that extra moment as well. So because we made a double sub after 5 minutes, and then we made another sub with Cole Palmer coming off for Andre Santos after another few minutes, that meant we only had 1 substitution window remaining. And then we go into the second half, and we don't make a halftime substitution. I was like, because Manchester United had Casemiro sent off just before the half.
Yep.
So, yes, we were 2-0 down, but we were essentially back in it. We were like, okay, well, they're down to 10 men. So it's like 11v11, 10v10. United are on the brink, you know, their recent form. If we get one back, they will be nervous. They will be shitting themselves. You've got it there to like have a crazy comeback. At least fucking try it. Makes no halftime subs. Goes with what you see on screen into the second half. 5 defenders, 3 midfielders, and 1 forward who can't do it all alone. Who isn't even a real striker and he's playing striker alone. And then you've got Cucurella on the left, and you've got Reece James. All of a sudden, he can now play right wing back and overlap. His crossing was the only positive thing about the whole night, by the way. So, but that will never happen again because this supposedly only happens when we're down to 10 men. But then the second half substitutions, late on in the second half, after the 60th minute, we took off Marc Cucurella. I'm just going to change it because otherwise it just shows the name is more. We take off Marc Cucurella for Malo Gusto. Yes, Malo Gusto came on at left back for Marc Cucurella. And then the other substitution we made was bloody brilliant as well. We brought on Andre Santos for who was it? Was it who came off?
No, it was Tyrique George.
That's who I meant.
Also forgot who went out. I really forgot.
Fofana, I think.
Fofana. Yeah.
Was it Fofana?
Yeah, it was exactly after he scored that offside goal.
Yes, it was Fofana. So then, well, I guess we take Fofana out. And we had Tyrique George all of a sudden. Did it really change what we were doing? It didn't really feel like... Do I even find Tyrique George?
He's not even on your app, bro.
And all of this with, almost £100 million of wide talent in Garnacho and Gittins on the bench.
Yeah. And then we almost went back to what we had usually, where Joao Pedro was all of a sudden playing as a number 10 and Tyrique George was up front. It was insane. I honestly don't know what the formation was. Like, was it like supposed to be a diamond and George in the front before? I genuinely don't know. I just genuinely have no idea. Something like this is what we then try to do at the end. Very strange, very odd. But then Malo Gusto and Tyrique George. Now, if Malo Gusto came on for Reece James because Reece James started in Munich and started today and he couldn't hack it anymore. I mean, Reece James started to be so tired, he started to constantly fall over. He started to just fall over. He just fell over trying to defend Bruno Fernandes. He fell over trying to do a Ronaldo chop and trying to get across it. He just started to fall over. It was unbelievable. And
he almost gave them a goal as well.
Big up everybody joining from Lucy's stream. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And appreciate you, my bro. Everybody, like I say, we're just ranting about our substitutions, guys. So here we are. Dimitar, I'll just go with you first. No, actually, I'll go with Bertram because you kind of elaborated your thoughts on this double sub a little bit already, Dimitar. So, Bertram, I'm not sure if that's exactly how we then lined up, if I'm being perfectly honest, but this is certainly the substitutions we made. And I don't think
there was a lineup, to be fair, at the end.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, fair point. But Tyrique George coming on over Garnacho and over Gittins. Like, let's not forget, we spent over £90 million on Garnacho and Gittins this summer. And Maresca decides to bring on Tyrique George, who was essentially already had gone to Fulham. He had done and completed his medical with Fulham. And then the deal sheet essentially wasn't done in time. Whether that was due to Harry Wilson's move to Leeds or someone's move to Leeds falling through or not, who knows? But he still brought on the guy that we were essentially already sold for £22 million over the two wingers that we signed for £90 million. Now, I'm no fan of Gittins. I'm no fan of Garnacho except for this game. But George up front, instead of Guiu, who we recalled from loan, I'm genuinely getting to the point, and this is why I put it on the title and on the thumbnail as well. Today, for me, Maresca acted like a man trying to get sacked. Maresca, to me, acted like a man that is fed up with the decisions above him and was like, I'm not playing your game. It's like you recall Guiu instead of buying a striker. No, I'm playing George up front. You think Garnacho and Gittins are going to do the job after you get rid of Madueke and you don't manage to keep Sancho? No, I'm not playing them either. That's what it felt like to me today. And it's genuinely and I'm not the only person that said this. I've seen many other people say this. And I've also seen someone say this who is usually the opposite of a doomsday person. Like, if you guys know him, Rob, the journalist, if you've known him on Twitter, he's like always trying to use logical explanations for things and try not to blow things out of proportion. And he sat here saying this felt like the beginning of the end game for him. And I'm like, you are saying this. What on earth have you heard that this even crosses your mind? And the longer the second half was going on, the longer I was like, maybe. Like, we didn't even feel like we were trying to. I know at the end, obviously, we had those 2 half moments, but there were still moments where it didn't even feel like we were trying to get back in the game. We're passing it between Jurgensen, Caicedo, Chalobah, and Tosin for 5 minutes. It genuinely blew my mind. So Bertram, obviously, share your thoughts on the second half subs. But isn't this just there's no logical explanation for what Maresca did here, other than, in my opinion at least, saying fuck you to the sport directors and to the squad planning. That is the only somewhat thing that makes sense to me for how I can explain what he did today.
I think that as well, to be honest. And I think us as Chelsea fans are some of the most reliable people when it comes to spotting someone, moving like that. I think the thing with George, perhaps for me, is maybe the clearest indicator of that. I think having two players who, especially Garnacho, is perhaps one of the most director-led signings we've had, with his ownership. And I think not playing him probably and not having started him yet is definitely an indication that something is wrong. And I think, as well, the bewilderment from, the decisions he made, I think that is not the most logical explanation, but you could see it. But if we're talking about the double sub, I think as well, I think Gusto, to be fair, was quite good when he came on. I think maybe we have benefited from having perhaps a left footer over there. I think the crosses from Reece James, obviously is quality, but having those in swingers are much more effective than, Gusto having to cut back and cross them in. So I think that also he played well, but I just.
Like, why take Cucurella off? Cucurella is one of our most important players. And Cucurella, yes, isn't the best attacker, but you had the left footer there. You know what I mean? Or at the best of time, if you had to, you just didn't have to take on Pedro Neto. You could have made Pedro Neto do this. But no, you decided to take him off after 4 minutes. Like, I don't even disagree with you. Gusto was decent, and considering he was playing left back / left wing back / almost left winger, he did a decent job for considering he's a right back. But why was he even brought on in the first place? Like, by that point, we were losing 2-1, and it was 20 minutes to go. Why? Just bring on a left winger to play left winger. Just try it, risk it. What have you got to lose? You're losing against Man United. You're losing against the team that hasn't won back-to-back games in 3 years or something. You're losing against a team that's 17th in the Premier League table. 17th. We haven't lost this season. And you weren't willing to risk keeping the unbeaten streak alive? You just wanted to go with George and 3 midfield. What? It's just, Dimitar, please. Like, did it not to you also feel like?
Absolutely.
Elaborate, bro.
The thing is, like, if you look at what Maresca's been doing, I think from day one, basically, most of his match day squads feel a bit off because there's always this thing like, oh, Guiu is not in the squad, or, oh, why did we start Gittins and then replace him with someone else, or stuff like that. Well, clearly playing players when they're not ready, sticking George up front, even though he's supposed to go to Fulham the next day for also a very long period of time. And I remember, I forget which game was that. Was it the West? No, after the West Ham game. Who did we beat after the West Ham game?
Fulham.
So yeah, in the Fulham game, like, George was supposed to go to Fulham the next day, and he played so much time in that game as a striker. Like, so many illogical things. And I kind of think that Maresca also, he knew he would never have full transfer control, but I think he's also suffering from what Poch suffered. Like, he has probably zero transfer control, if I have to guess, because the profile of players that we keep buying don't match up with what we think we know about his tactical plans. Because if you remember the previous summer, in our chat, in videos, everyone spent so much time dissecting how Maresca would want to play, the profile of players, and how he would use our guys. And then all of a sudden we bought him what? We bought him Pedro Neto and Joao Felix out of nowhere last year. He refused to use Joao Felix, basically, and we got rid of him in the winter. Now, this summer, we spent the entire summer trying to fit in how Xavi Simons maybe would be able to play as a 10, as a left winger, blah, blah, blah. And then we bought Gittins and Garnacho, and we didn't have any money for anyone else. Like, we also spent speculating the entire summer, oh, will he play with two strikers, with one? What's he going to do? Is Joao Pedro going to be a 10, a 9, an 11, a 12, a 15? And then Delap gets injured. We send Jackson to Munich, and we have to recall Guiu. Like, this is obviously not planned. This is obviously not spoken enough with the manager, because for me, it's clear that we were scrambling for transfers on the last match day and on the last days of the transfer window. And it is clear to me also that even if we had brought a striker, it would have been another player which Maresca wanted nothing to do with, probably. Even if we did, let's say, bring a Kolo Muani, for example, the situation for me would have been basically the same. He would stay on the bench, and we see George playing for 20, 30 minutes as a striker, because if you don't respect the manager, and like Maresca is a cultured guy. He's not that loud. He's not that aggressive. He maybe will not say it in the presser. He will not say it after the match, but he'll do this during the game. And this is
he was clear. He said he wants a centre back. Remember,
yeah. Oh,
he said, a centre back is a priority. And then 3 days later, the next press conference, he was like, well, I always said I meant an internal solution. I'm like, no, you didn't, bro. You didn't say that. You clearly asked for a centre back and they told you to F off.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
And his refusal to play Achapong as well is a sign of that.
He wasn't even in the squad today, mind you. I mean, obviously because he's going to start against Lincoln, I assume, in the week. But even still, why wasn't he in the squad? On the first game of the season, when Tosin didn't play, we had Achapong centre back. Today, Tosin didn't start. And all of a sudden, Fofana is there, who you said in the summer can't play this role. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. We have a super chat here by Ricky. And I do want us to talk about this because it's... Well, maybe it is pressing. We'll see what we all think about it. I'll start with you, Bertram. Ricky asked, do we even make top 4 or get out of the Champions League phase? Do you worry about either? Which one do you worry about more, if so?
No, not now. I think we've not been at our best the start of this season, but that was always to be expected. I think if we, hold on, or if, perhaps PGMOL could be competent for once, and we hold on, get the win against Brentford, suddenly, 3 wins in 4, we go to Munich differently. I think in Munich, we lose to a very, very good team who played a great game. And as well, I think today, as diabolical as it was to, take part in and watch this game, you can't, I don't think you can gauge your level, to be honest with you. I think
no, you can't.
As bad as we were and stuff like this, I just don't think, I wouldn't panic now. I think if this continues and we have, 1 win in 5 or 2 in 7, or, if we go on Man United form from here, then yes, I'd be worried. But I think this game just really isn't something.
We don't need to worry about top 4 anymore.
Yeah.
But but we say that, but we had United form last season as well in the middle part of it. So I think I'm not it's not that I'm saying we will definitely put my house on us getting top 4. Not at all. I still think we're one of the best teams in the league, and I think this game maybe doesn't even change that. I think this was just a dreadful game, one we forget. I think it'll be good for us, or for a lot of the starters at least, to have the midweek off, against Lincoln. So I'd give it a few more games before I say anything else as well. I think we are a good level. I think we're better than last season. I think it will show, but today was just dreadful because of the red card and the substitutions.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, Ricky, we also got to say top 5 is almost certainly going to be enough again.
Yeah.
And I am quite confident that 5th is that we are going to make top 4. Whether it's going to be top 5, whether it's going to be pretty, whether it's going to be easy, whether it's going to be better than last season, this I don't know, and I can't tell you right now. I'm also honestly the league phase of the Champions League, I'm not at all concerned about, if I'm being honest. Like, we might have to go through the playoffs, but I'm not concerned about at least making it to the playoffs, like, at all, if I'm being honest. I don't think that's going to be a worry at all. Dimitar, I'm not sure where you stand on this. Do we make top 4/top 5 Champions League phase? What do you think?
I think that if everyone remains fit from now until the rest of the season, we should be a shoo-in for top 5. But for me, that's a big if. Because like I said, and I've also said in our group chat, I don't believe that our squad depth is great at all. And I still think that we also somehow, I mean, I know the lapse injury helps for that, but I think we also did not solve our striker problem. We did not, because as I like Pedro, I think he's very good. I think he has potential to grow. But even if you analyze the goals he scored this season and how he's been involved in play this season, he hasn't been. Even excluding this game, we struggled to create chances for him. The goals he scored were headers. He had, I think he missed one sitter, I think, in the Brentford game, and he probably had some half chance in the previous games, but we have not managed to create open play goal chances for him. And I was hoping that the partnership between him and Delap could probably solve for this, because Delap is also mobile, even though he's huge in terms of size. But now Pedro is just left up to dry, and I think his best moments in games are when he drops down, when he drops in that space where Palmer occupies and they kind of overload it. And I don't think this is how you secure yourself top 4, because we don't have goal scorers. Garnacho is not a goal scorer. Gittins is not a goal scorer. Pedro Neto, we know, is not a goal scorer. Joao Pedro, okay, can he score 10? Probably. Can he score 15? I don't know. Can he score 20? I would say no. Delap as well. Can he score 10? Probably. Can he score more? I'm not sure. And if I want to say we were guaranteed top 4, top 5, if everyone's fit, I would back us. But considering that the season is long and we're starting to pick up injuries here and there, we're getting a little bit, we lose momentum. We're getting a little bit disgruntled. We're dropping our heads a bit. Not looking great.
I think all of what you're saying is absolutely true when comparing with Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City. I think in terms of when comparing for the rest of the top 4, top 5 fight, when you're comparing to Newcastle, when you're comparing to Tottenham, when you're comparing to, well, what should have been Villa, but, they're absolutely nowhere. What could potentially be United, but realistically, is that going to happen? I don't know. And I think compared to those teams that we are seriously fighting for top 4, 5 against, I think our squad depth is fine, and our fitness will also be fine because their depth isn't better. They will also have a few.
You say that. I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but you say that. But if you try and build a starting 11 and a backup 11, the drop off is absolutely horrible. And if we have to play
you seen Newcastle and Villa squad, bro, or Spurs squad? You know
yeah, what I know, but still, they don't have 19-year-old kids. I mean, I would much rather have a Jacob Ramsey starting on a Jacob Ramsey or no. How was that? Maybe Jacob Ramsey for Newcastle or some Longstaffs or some people like that who at least have experience. Because I am not sure that if we play a Gittins Garnacho wingers with, let's say, George as a striker, I'm not sure this front three will beat almost any Premier League side, maybe apart from Leeds. Like this potential backup front three currently that we would field would not, for example, scare almost anyone, I believe. Also, do we have any midfielders? Do we have any other midfielders fit apart from those who played today? Because Esugu is injured, Lavia is injured. We have only three fit midfielders, and it's September.
Well, we've got Buonanotte who we don't use, but yeah.
But
so I
can
guess
he
you can
replace
add those
Caicedo?
if you want.
I mean, I don't want to be super negative,
No,
but
but bro, I completely agree. But that's my point. When we have to play the bad teams, we will drop points. When we have to play the bad players, we will drop points. But like I say, so will those rivals that we fight for top 4, top 5 against.
Now, knock on wood. Imagine Caicedo goes out for the season. What happens tomorrow?
Yeah, but you can say that for any team in the league. If their best player goes out for the season, they're fucked. You know what I mean? Like that applies to any team in the league. And obviously, when you always have to take the top 3 out. But even then, look at what happened to City when Rodri was out, right? That is kind of hard.
Or Liverpool with Van Dijk.
Know about that as well. I quickly want to let. No, Bertram, you have replied to this already. So we'll move away from the super chat. I quickly just want to get to this tweet by Chelsea Dodgers via Bobby Vincent. Let me just remove this from the screen. So Enzo Maresca confirms Garnacho was about to come on, but Wesley Fofana asked for a change because he was tired. The reason, and below you can read Enzo full quote on the subs, the reason why is because they attacked with 5 players often and we needed to defend all the width, so we decided to go to a back 5. The other one, Garnacho was ready to come in, but then Wes asked for a change because he was tired. Again, why did you start Wes? I have all these questions. It's like you started Palmer, who was unfit, and then you made subs before you were even sure whether Palmer could last. And then you started Wesley Fofana for no reason. Like he played 45 minutes in the last God knows how many months and years. Last week against Brentford was not very good in that at all. And then you start him today at Man United, where he was already shit last year. Like, honestly, I lost so much faith and hope in Maresca with this today, because I know what Bertram said, you can't gauge our quality today. Absolutely, I was spot on. But you can gauge our manager when shit gets tough. And boy, did he fuck up. Now, of course, rash decisions happen and maybe just decided too quickly, okay, I'm making 2 subs here. We got to change to the back 5. Like you said earlier, a little bit like Tinkerman, maybe like Ranieri style. Overdid it. It happens, right? But he didn't even rectify his own mistake. He could have tried to rectify his own mistake by making 1 sub at halftime, but he didn't do that either. So that tells me not only did he lose his head in the heat of the moment, he also wasn't calm enough to fix his issue later on. And that's just, and then like, you can use all the excuses you want with Fofana asked to get subbed off. Figure it out, bro. Figure it out. Play Cucurella at centre back. Bring Garnacho on, play him left wing back. That even if Wesley Fofana wants to come off, doesn't mean you need to bring Gusto on. And that also, by the way, still doesn't change the fact you decided to bring Tyrique George on. Again, who was about to be at Fulham. And you just changed your mind. It was like, it doesn't matter whether he was our best player real. It doesn't matter. In the end, we couldn't make an attacking sub because he was tired. And also, what defines best player? He was one of the players that didn't even jump when the ball was falling from the sky when we conceded the second goal. Like, what is best player? Your best player in what? In passing the ball around for absolutely no usefulness? Yeah, it's like, it's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. And I do quickly want to talk about this this goal, by the way. I'm not sure if I can find something on it. Maybe I can in a second. But we need to quickly talk about the second goal that we conceded today as well. Reece James punts the ball straight in the air. Shocking clearance from him, by the way. Shocking.
Yep.
And then you have Reece James, Trevor Chalobah, and half Wesley Fofana stood underneath the ball, and not one of them jumped. But that's not even the worst thing. All of this happened in the 6-yard box. And this is probably why none of them jumped. Because all of them assumed, well, obviously, we're in the 6-yard box, so the goalkeeper is now going to jump in and catch the ball because he's allowed to use his arms.
Or he could have
or punch it. Or punch it. But do something,
anything.
because with his arms, he can reach higher than anybody can with his head. But no, the goalie, like what your criminal said, stays on his line. 2 goalkeeper howlers in the same game. You've signed 8 goalkeepers, Clear Lake. You've signed 8 goalkeepers, and they're all shit. They're all shit. Oh my God, I hate you all so much. It's a disgrace. Bertram, again, I'll ask you as the goalkeeper. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking back at it now, and I think, first of all, one of those balls are one of the worst you could get. Realistically, he probably should be going for it, but I think that goal is just a calamity from the whole team. I think Jorgensen probably should come for it. I think as well, seeing it, we have 4 players standing under, ball watching, and we have 2 players at the back post. So even if Casemiro doesn't head it in,
would you, as a goalkeeper, would you expect your centre backs not to jump in front of you so you can clear the ball?
No. I think for a center back, expecting a goalkeeper to come is some of the worst things for a goalkeeper ever. Like, that's a general rule that every goalkeeper would scream at their defenders if they for example, like, shout keeper or something. That's terrible. You always have to expect the keeper doesn't come. That being said, a top quality goalkeeper would have tried to punch that out. I think a Sanchez probably would have done it, to be fair. I think he would have punched that out. But I think that goal is just a calamity from everyone, to be honest. I think the defenders, seeing him not come, should have taken responsibility. And I think, no one attempting to mark Casemiro is just diabolical as well.
Yeah, it truly is. I mean, Dimitar, I assume similar perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ball was just so close to the goal line that, like, anyone would expect the keeper, and like even a under 16 youth player goalkeeper should know that he has to at least box that out. Like, you don't have to catch it every time. You don't have to risk like someone maybe hitting your stuff like that to get the ball. Just box it to safety. It's 1-0, it's raining, you're losing, you're 1 man down, the other keeper already made a howler. Just take the safe route. But maybe he panicked. I don't know. Maybe he didn't see it properly. I don't know. But it was, this is like...
I was just trying to find a screenshot of all these guys that stood under the ball not doing anything. What I found instead was a screenshot of the same thing happening against Brentford last week, where all of these guys stood there, none of them got the header as well. So clearly something that we struggle with on a regular basis, which is just fucking brilliant, isn't it? Just super nice, super great. This is really how I want the situation to be at Chelsea. My God.
That Cole injury has really shaped something bad for us, I think.
Oh, yes. And who would have thought? Didn't we all call for a centre-back as soon as he got injured? Oh, wait, we did. Just the sport directors were the ones that didn't clock it. Oh, my God.
If only the coach would have said something, If only he would have wanted...
If only he made it clear in the press conference that he thinks he needs a centre-back. Oh, who could have expected this? Absolutely diabolical. Genuinely diabolical. We're at a point where I'm like... Now... Let's talk about the summer, right? There was in the summer a discourse when people like myself, when people like Pius, when a few other people online basically criticized the transfer window, some a couple of days before the transfer window shut, some even after the transfer window shut, saying things like, I think we made the squad worse. We got shut down. We got criticized. We got abused. We got harassed. This is what you're seeing now. And even if you thought in certain cases we kind of made it better, what you're experiencing right now, in terms of the first few weeks of the season, is exactly what I meant then when I said the problem isn't necessarily just the quality. The problem is we made a lot of changes to the team once again without improving the quality, which that just means you make yourself worse. Even if you keep the quality at a very similar level, purely by changing another 5 people in the attack, you need to get relationships to form again, rather than that they already have formed. And this is what you're now experiencing in these first 2 weeks. What Dimitar said earlier, how we don't create any chances for Joao Pedro. Why is that? Because our forwards all haven't played together before. Because, well, you either have Estevao, or you've got Joao Pedro, or you've got Gittins, or you've got players all over the shop, or Tyrique George, who started 1 Premier League game in his life. This is your attack all of a sudden, rather than the attack that played 50 games together last season. And even if they're similar quality, they don't know each other. So, of course, it's going to take a few weeks, a few months until they're even at the same level. But when you improve the players, you can maybe take this risk because it pushes you further in the long run. But when you don't actually improve the quality, all you do is temporarily make yourself worse to, in the end, be at the same level as you were before already. And that's just, 1, a waste of money, 2, a waste of time, and 3, a bad,
business
decision
model
of how to spend resources in terms of what we spoke about. We all know we need a goalkeeper. We all know we need a centre-back. Instead, we signed 2 left wingers who are not good enough for 90 million, who the manager doesn't rate. And it's just, I just think we made our squad slightly worse. And if you think the same, even then, temporarily, definitely worse by purely them not knowing each other. I know Dimitar's position in this, so I want to go to Bertram on it first to see if he has a slide.
Screenshots of the ball watching as well. You can check that out.
Oh yes, okay. Let's talk about this first, and then I'll go to open these. So, Bertram, I know you said earlier, you think we're better this season than we were last season. How do you explain that? Because to me, I just don't see it. I just don't really see how we're better. Like, we've improved in certain aspects, don't get me wrong. Like, having Dario Asugo, when fit, unfortunately that he's now out until December, is better than having no Caicedo backup. Sure. Having Hato is better than having no Cucurella backup. Also sure. But still, it means we only have one type of backup to Cucurella. When we actually want him to overlap and be attacking, all of a sudden we're playing Gusto at left back again. So essentially, £37 million on Hato for absolutely no reason, right? When you really deep it, because the manager clearly doesn't rate him as a centre back at all. Because the one time he's used him, he's like, yeah, play midfield, bro. Which, shock or horror, he could not hack the pace of the Premier League. Who could have seen that coming? So shocking. Who could have seen that? Absolutely surprising, isn't it? And then the only one that's really surprised, that's really like took off, I guess you can say too. But Joao Pedro has dramatically slowed down since Fulham as well, because he's decided, let me drop like Nicholas Jackson, but then forget to make the run after. So basically, I'm never in the box. So there's just no one ever in the box, and it feels like having Kai Havertz up front again. So the only one that's really done anything is Estevao. And he's, first of all, been ill, has been out to Brazil, and will do the same in October, and will do the same in November. And he's 18 years old. And he's now the only attacking player I have any faith in. Fucking brilliant. Because Cole Palmer is injured since before the Club World Cup, and he's now still dealing with it. Maybe he ends up having a hernia and needing a surgery. And we couldn't afford a backup to him because we decided to dangle a little Snickers over Xavi Simons' head for the whole summer. But in the end, we let him go to top. And it's just like, how can you go about your business like this? And I've not even come to the point of not having a front of shirt sponsor. And I've already fumed enough about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, Bertram, so please elaborate to me how you think it's better. Like, Steve Estevao is better, but is anybody else better?
I think, first of all, when I agreed to come on today, I was expecting it to be a much more pleasant conversation than we've ended up having because of the game.
Sorry, bro.
I think
blame Maresca and Sanchez, not me.
Yeah, I think all the points you made are very valid, and when I say I think we're better last season than this season than last season, I think a lot of that is dependent on the injuries as well. I think we have been very, very unlucky with injuries. Now, I think that's something the directors, if they were good at the job, perhaps should have addressed. I completely agree. Nevertheless, I think we've been unlucky with, the likes of Delap, Isugo, Palmer not being fit as well. I think all of these things are still unlucky, right? But I also just believe that a lot of them, just as you made the point that a lot of the players we've signed now don't know each other and will need to go through that period. I think a lot of the players that played a lot last season have played, more with each other. I think having a fully fit Reece James now is not something we were afforded the whole of last season. But that being said, I think just with the injury situation we're in right now, we are looking a bit weaker, or at least than we were at the
By
end.
the way, I didn't mean to throw this back at you. Like, look at you, Bertram. You said we're better than last season. That's not how I meant this at all.
That
I
is
was
how
more
I felt
trying
it, I
to
have to say.
get a different or more positive perspective. I was like, maybe I'm not seeing something. You know what I mean? You are usually the optimist, so I'm like, maybe you saw something I didn't. So
No, I do agree. I think it's just a double-edged sort of. I think in some ways, I still believe we have upgraded when everyone's fit. I think the attacking options of a Delap and a Joao Pedro are better than what we had last season. I would even go as far as to say I think the wingers perhaps are better than last season, the midfield cover. But, as the games have progressed, we've just lost all that. We've lost our striker or our attacking cover. We've lost the midfield cover with the Sugo being out, with Lavia still not being anywhere. Colville as well, which has been a massive injury. But I think stuff like this as well, especially the Colville one, is just something you throw back at the sporting directors, for example, right? But I just believe I don't really know, if I'm honest. I think just disappointing and very unfortunate with the injury situation right as of now.
Yeah, I mean, we are unfortunate, but at the same time, being in the Club World Cup, everybody said, "Oh, well, let's hope we don't have too many bad injuries this season." Well, you're already seeing it, so well, what else can you really say? But I know you agree. You probably even think it even more extremely than I do in terms of having made the squad worse. Now, obviously, one part of it, not our fault. Obviously, having to replace Mudryk in the squad and that being whoever you signed being just a minus straight up because you're not getting any money for Mudryk. Then on top of that, you didn't get any money for taking Sancho out of your squad. Actually, it cost you an extra 5 million to get him out of your squad. So that meant the two left wingers that we signed, the 90 million, were essentially a plus 95 because 90 million we spent on them plus the 5 we spent to give Sancho back. So we've spent 95 million just on the left wing compared to last season. And yes, maybe they're slightly better, but are they? Like, no. I think Sancho is better than both as of right now. And I think George is better than Gittins, and clearly Maresca does too. Like I say, I think if Garnacho got a real chance today, I think he probably would have done something, if I'm being honest. So I think Garnacho is a twat, but I think quality-wise, he's not that bad. I think quality-wise, he might be better than what we had last season, but he's just such a twat that I'm not really sure how that's going to go. So maybe today was a good experience for him anyway, learning the hard way already, I guess. But Dimitar, speak, please.
Well, I mean, maybe I am a bit over negative in my comments. I know that I have these tendencies, but my thing is that because I like to think forward, and what I do now seeing the squad is I immediately calculate in that next summer we will do exactly the same. We will sign 20-year-olds, and probably maybe even in the winter. I would not be surprised if we actually pay a lot of money for some random center back, which we never heard of, who's 19, let's say, from the Dutch league or from the German Bundesliga or wherever, because this is what we do. And I just think that this as a policy is absolutely diabolical, because this is how you are always the next year team. You are always the team in transition. You're always the team in not transition, but the team in the process of building and being better, because we already did this. We got Jackson as a raw 21-year-old striker / left winger. We kind of improved him. We got him settled into the league, and then we fucked him off. We did the same with Madueke. We paid not that much, but let's say 25-30 million for a 21-year-old raw winger from the Dutch league. We molded him into a usable player, a player who could score goals, still inconsistent, but not a bad player. And then we sell him. What's the point? I mean, sure, sometimes this will happen. We will flip players like we did with Vega, for example. But this entire philosophy of squad building, which I've said multiple times, is just not working. And I think that the Club World Cup kind of covered us. And the fact that Maresca did some good things last season, it covered for the deficiencies in squad building. And I think that the sporting directors are literally on very thin ice right now, because we can recover from this. The season is not over. But if it starts to get worse, then all of a sudden, let's say we sit 8th in the end of November, then we can't spend that much money. We know we have all these 20-year-olds. What do we do? Like, how do we improve the squad? Because you can't just suddenly buy, let's say, 27-year-old left winger to fix our problems in the winter, because then what do you do with these guys? You can't now just, let's say, spend another 90 million on some striker, because then, okay, well, now where does Pedro and Delap play? Like, what happens with Guiu? Are there even spaces to loan him out and stuff like that? I mean, it's so many questions that it's like they planned for everything to just go according to plan with no hiccups. And the Colwill injury caught them off guard, but they had time to react. Maresca said, but I guess because the accountants had already made all of the transfer plans in June, this injury in the beginning of August meant nothing to them. And then Delap gets injured 3 days before the window ended, and they still didn't. And they made the worst reaction of all time, because they tried to recall Jackson, who was already in Munich. Then they said, oh, well, wait, no, we're going to sell George. No, we're going to keep George. Oh, no, we're going to get Guiu back, who is also cup-tied, which also with this injury.
So Guiu can't even play against Lincoln. That's the point.
It means that we have to now use George as a rotation for Pedro at striker, which is also, I'm not sure we're helping George's career with this, but let's hope for the best that he can actually develop into somewhat of a decent player with the limited minutes he's getting. But yeah, I mean, I think I said it on one of your streams when we were kind of in bad form last year. I think that in order for this philosophy to change, it needs to crash and burn first. And I don't know. I don't think this will happen this year, but at some point, I think this will really bite us in the ass. And at some point, we're going to fall really short. And again, we will be in this situation where we planned for Champions League money, we planned for this and that, and it doesn't come. And then when your sellable assets are Caicedo, Enzo Palmer, and Colwill, then you're in trouble. And this
we always seem to sign enough players to be able to sell some players, but obviously we could have purely on making money. We could have signed plenty more. The problem was the UEFA limitations meant only players sales from our last season UEFA A-list counted, and that's why we were obviously dramatically limited. I think, for example, like someone in the chat earlier mentioned Quenda, obviously the winger that's coming from Sporting Lisbon, scored his first Champions League goal the other day. See, there are some players where they're like really young, and you're like, I'm still excited about this player. The problem is always when it's just those types of players. Like that doesn't just because he's young doesn't mean Estevao isn't great. That doesn't mean me and Dimitar and most other people are excited about him. The problem is that we only have Estevaos and Quendas and players like that. If we added on top of that a couple of experienced players, it would be a whole different ballgame. It would be a whole different story. But unfortunately, it isn't. It isn't. We're going to slowly move towards wrapping this one up. Just to overall, you have the stats on screen. United had 1.47 XG. We had 0.39. Brilliant. One whole shot on target. That was the Chalobah goal. We haven't even touched on it yet. A nice cross from Reece James after a short corner by Enzo Fernandes, and Chalobah heads it in. We had one other chance after. Didn't really lead to a full proper shot. Andre Santos had his rebound shot block. But otherwise, there was just nothing there. And this is why we're so frustrated that they had a man sent off, and we didn't even really try properly to come back in the game. Like it felt like the players did everything on their own. It felt like the players just reverted into what, well, some of them knew from Tuchel days, and the rest of them knew from the other boys when we already had Potter, but Potter was useless, and the other players told them how to do things. It felt like, okay, just give the ball to Reece James at right wing back and let him cross. And honestly, it got us fairly close to getting a couple of goals, because Reece James is an absolute master crossing, and even as unfit as he is, even as tired as he was, he still managed to get ahead of his man every single time of Dorgu and got his cross in, other than once when he fell over a little bit embarrassingly. But it happens. But that was our only hope of doing anything, was giving the ball to Reece James and hoping his cross meets up one of our players. It was our only hope, and that cannot be. I don't like. Maresca sits there after the game and says, "Oh yeah, the red card changed the whole game," and I'm like, "Yeah, obviously it did," but it can't be that we don't have more solutions and more ideas than this. And it's honestly a little bit the same as like, I know, like, who was it that said this earlier? I think it was you, Bertram. You said earlier that, at the start of the season hasn't been good. But the frustrating thing for me is that genuinely every game we've not been good in. The only game we've been good in, and that was only so half good, was West Ham. But West Ham are fucking awful. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, it was probably better to let Mbeumo score. I prefer being 1-0 down with 95 minutes left than one player down after 4 minutes. After the red card, our plan and everything went. Did he say went in the bin? That would be hilarious because, well, you put it in the bin. Your subs put it deeper in the. You pushed it deep in. You squished it down, so you had some more bin extra, some bin space left on top. Do you know what I mean? So you could squish Garnacho in on top of that. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, just for a shit haircut. My God, it's just. It's just. I can't believe Garnacho had to sit there getting booed by Man United fans that didn't even get to come on. I almost feel a bit bad for him. I can't even lie. I feel a bit bad for him. I don't know what else to say. The only thing I can bring up is actually Dimitar's 2 screenshots here of our lack thereof defending for the second goal. I mean, can we see the ball? Is this the ball or is this someone?
Yep, that's the ball. Yep, that's the ball. I'm
not sure honestly if it's the ball. It must be the ball. Well, there you go. You can see all of the players. Fofana right there. This is why I replied to someone in the chat. Fofana was our best player. This is Fofana here. He's the guy that loses the header. Well, Casemiro takes a run up, and obviously no one stops him. But Casemiro's over here. Who gets this header? Was it Shaw that gets it? Or was it this guy?
This I'm not sure.
I'm not even sure, but it doesn't matter. Fofana, Tosin, and Reece James, and Enzo Fernandes. Enzo is at least small, but Reece James punted it in the air badly himself and then doesn't do anything about it. And like I say, it's on the 6-yard box. It punted so high in the ball. Jurgensen, do something. Honestly, our own players were in his way, half of it as well. It's
but
just,
the thing
it's just
is,
embarrassing.
Jurgensen is making a step back in this second. And in this second, what he should be doing is like really charging forward.
Yeah. You really should. Or even in this, because that's slightly earlier. Look how much space and time there was in that moment. Reece stepping back as well, all stepping further and further back. You can see the run up from this guy from there. It's just embarrassing defending, if I'm being totally
even
honest.
Andre Santos should probably be, going toward the back post here. He's just ball watching.
At least trying. Because he's the one with the angle that can have a runner but can head it out for a corner. Yeah, you're right.
Also, look at the right-hand side, like Šeško and Casemiro and Mbeumo in the corner, they're all free. Like if the ball reaches any single one of them, it's always gonna be a goal.
Yeah, because the all 4 or 5 of them in the middle are all focusing on the ball, but still none of them jump. That's the crazy thing.
It's absolutely what happened against Brentford. 4 or 5 defenders ball watching, someone is just free, and then we could concede.
Exactly. It's honestly the same issue we had against Poch when we constantly conceded these exact goals. It's ridiculous. It's genuinely ridiculous. Now. It's been a bad week, dropping points against Brentford in the last minute of the game, losing against Bayern Munich in the week, even if the performance was okay, let's say okay, and on another day we maybe get a 2-2 draw in that very same game. But that today, I know I'm not saying in terms of quality, but like you emphasized earlier, Bertram, you're absolutely right. If you get a man sent off for 4 minutes, it's not a case of judging your quality anymore, but it's judging how you keep your head. And I felt like the fact that we lost in midweek, the fact that we dropped points last week, just made us spiral today because the way we reacted, it's just bad. Like, yeah, we touched on it earlier. Was it harsh? Should they have gotten their 1-0 goal? Was it offside? Was it not? But letting them 2-0 up, like, it's just like we gave up. And I want to give a little bit of an excuse to the players because I'm like, I saw my own head loss. I saw my own head loss when Sanchez got sent off. So imagine the players. Imagine you're one of these players preparing for 3 days, trying to come back after losing against Bayern, and you're watching your goalkeeper kick the opposition straight in the head, or not in the head, in the knee, but still getting sent off. And you're like, well, we're fucked now. You know what I mean? Like, as much as we say, they're professionals and everything, the head loss is perfectly normal, if I'm being honest. And it's even more normal because we all have young players. If you had more experienced players, they'd be more capable of dealing with the head loss of such a situation. Thiago Silva, he wouldn't have lost his head over the goalkeeper getting sent off. But of course, the young players will. And this is half the problem, When everything goes smoothly, it doesn't matter that the players are young. But when things get tough, that's when it does matter. And we're just not prepared for those situations. And that's the problem. That's why I think we will eventually always get out of our bad patches. But I think that's why it takes us longer to get out of bad patches than, say, a Liverpool or a Man City. It's just, we just don't make things easy for us. We absolutely just don't. And yeah, JC was absolutely not on Maresca on Wednesday, but today it was. So it's tough. Dimitar and Bertram, I'll give you both a moment or a chance to think about a potential last few words that you have for the day. But yeah, at the end of the day, I want to bring up the league table, but also I don't. We are still in 6th. Obviously, still some games to play for teams around us, but we are currently 6th. Man United have now been gone up to 10th, even though they were 17th before this game. So that's super brilliant. We have now won the same amount of games as Man United this season. We have 1 whole point more than Manchester United this season. Think about that. Think about that. 1 point more than Manchester United. Embarrassing. Utterly embarrassing. And somehow we've still scored the second most amount of goals in the season other than Liverpool, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, it's wow. Bertram, I'll go to you first. What are your not final words, but anything else you want to say about today? Any either positive glimpses or anything more negative that you can share, I suppose?
I think I'm just very, very happy that it didn't turn out to be, like the City away game a couple of years ago with, the 6s or 5s we would conceded. That being said, I think today was really disheartening to watch and really just disappointing the fact, and all the time I've supported the club, I've seen us, win the Carabao Cup, the Club World Cup, the Champions League. I've seen us win everything. I've never, ever seen us win at Old Trafford. It's the one thing I've never done. But look, it'll continue for another year. I also think that, yes, this week has been very frustrating, very annoying. I also wouldn't overreact, personally. Not yet, at least. I think, we're a couple minutes away from Brentford from getting 3 points, losing to a better team, as I said before, and today as well with the red card. So I think, as frustrating as it is, I wouldn't overreact just yet.
I mean, that's good. I wouldn't overreact either. But it's always a question of what do you call overreacting? To be honest, like, as much as I think Maresca is acting almost like a manager that is trying to get sacked, I don't really think that's going to happen. I don't really think we're remotely moving in a direction of the manager potentially getting sacked. I think we're a long way away from that happening. But I think what I am seeing is I'm not surprised by it. Let's make sure we beat Lincoln now. I'm not even sure who our next Prem game is.
Brighton, is it Brighton, I think?
Brilliant. So that's going to be easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let me look.
Munich.
Yeah, Brighton at home next weekend, next Saturday, and then Benfica, Jose returning, and then we've got Liverpool. So that's going to be fun, isn't it? So yeah, it's not easy at the moment. Dimitar, your kind of final thoughts on a day like today?
I think, yeah, like Bertram said, disheartening. I think nothing fatal has happened. We're not dead. It's not over. But the signs are there that I think something has to change in the future. And I really hope that Maresca has won enough credit with the owners, with the people behind the scenes, that he can actually, if needed, stand against the sporting directors and maybe have some sort of input in the transfer policy. Because I think this is ultimately what will define our season. Because
we still only have to make it to January, though.
I know, but I think he won't get sacked to January. I mean, I'm pretty sure he won't. But just to keep this short, if we have to make one transfer in January, and if they let Maresca choose a type of player and the profile and the age, I think this will boost our chances for top 4 dramatically. But if they just do what they've been doing for forever, which is Maresca says, I need, let's say, a left winger or a striker, and they bring in a random 20-year-old, I think this will hurt our chances. So yeah. I really just hope Maresca has won enough credit to be able to change something in the structure. That's what I would say, because I think he's good enough to get us in the top 4. I think the squad is still good enough to do that, but it will need some help, some nudging to get over the line for the top 4 specifically, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. But like Casey said, he's asked multiple times, though, and the board ignored his concerns. And then he also said the board, so that those 2 sport directors got their deal extension whilst doubling down on what they're doing. So I'm not really sure if that's going to happen.
I mean, I'm just hoping. Like, I just hope.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's what it is, isn't it? But yeah, it's been a frustrating week. And I hate it when the next game is a League Cup game where you're like, well, even if you win, it doesn't fucking matter. But if you lose, you're in big shit. So it's like it's the worst type of game to have after a week like this. So here we are. Looking forward to playing Lincoln, I guess. Looking forward to hopefully playing Brighton. Last year, playing Brighton went well. But obviously, let's see if it goes as well. When we played them away, I don't think it went as well. Did we lose? Did we draw? I can't remember. But
we actually lost twice to them in 10 days. They knocked us out of one of the cups, and then we lost in the Premier League. This was, I think,
twice.
February, March.
Twice,
Yeah. This was in the middle of our
Yeah, we did in
discussion.
February. Yeah, 2-1 in the FA Cup and 3-0 in the league. That was probably brilliant, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Can't wait for that. But hey, at home it worked out well, and at least we are playing them at home. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time we wrap this one up. Thank you very much for everybody that has tuned in today. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. Let's get to at least 100 likes. So if you haven't done that yet, go down below and hit that like button for me right now. It doesn't cost you any money or any time. So please do. That'd be massively appreciated. Thank you, Dimitar. Thank you, Bertram, for sharing your time with me tonight, especially on such an unfortunate one. I know you boys hoped for a better result, but at the same time, if you expected a good result at Old Trafford, it's kind of more on you than on anybody else, because that was never going to happen. That's not how our luck goes. And hey, the usual dodgy ref decisions at Old Trafford as well. Questionable offside goal by them. Could we have had a penalty? Yes, no. That was at 1-0. What would that have changed? Well, nothing if Maresca makes the same subs. So here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and I will see you next time.